Welcome back to Bhakti Yoga Part 3. So far we have seen the dimensions of Bhakti Yoga, that it starts off with a resolve to change ourselves from the Asuri Sampat to Daivi Sampat. Then we start changing our gross carnal desires to prema by sacrifice. Then the prema to be elevated to the level of bhakti by surrender. Bhakti leads to sakshatkara. Sakshatkara in flesh and blood, saguna. Then you start going to the higher dimensions or advanced bhakti yoga until you reach the nirguna or nirvikalpa samadhi, the parabhakti, ultimately the moksha, the abode of all freedom, bliss, knowledge and power. In the beginning, we are all endowed with that freedom, and also we have tendencies. The tendencies of doing good things, Daivi Sampat, and tendencies of Asuri Sampat. Yes, man is the maker of his own destiny. We can use our freedom to make or mar ourselves. Once we decide to elevate ourselves, we are on the path of yoga. And the most important factor of the science of emotions is sublimation. Controlling the emotions may lead to suppression. Give free vent to the emotions will cause license. Therefore, it is sublimation. It is an intelligent energy management by slowing down the rush of energy from inside. And we start doing that by eating slowly, thinking slowly, clearly and so on. Then this art of sublimation is the key factor in gaining emotions, culture, and bhakti offers two wonderful techniques, intensive technique and extensive technique. Intensive technique is a devotional session, while extensive technique is spread throughout the day, what you call anusandhana, reducing the violent emotions like anger, developing the softer emotions like smile on the face and relaxation, and when we elevate ourselves from the kama to prema, prema to bhakti, bhakti would lead to sakshatkara. The sakshatkara is realization. And in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we had the great example to show us the path of bhakti. And Gadadhara, when he completely prepared to give up his life at the altar feet of Mother Kali, then he got that divine vision of Mother Kali. And therefore, the first conclusion in his life that God exists, it is possible to see God in flesh and blood. That is the conclusion one. Then he started worshipping Rama, the Krishna and several other things, and came to the conclusion that God exists in various forms and all paths of bhakti are true. Whatever God we worship in whatever form, we get the darshana in the same form. For example, you may worship Rama in this form or in this form, or as here, or in this beautiful way, Kodandapani here. Any of the forms of Krishna, when we worship like this, or small baby Krishna, or Radha Krishna, or the person with flute, or could be like this, or the baby taking the butter, or this way. Whatever ways we worship, we get the darshan in the same form, exactly same form you get. And Vishwarupa Darshana is a very rare opportunity got by Arjuna. So when Sri Ramakrishna realized these aspects, that he started staying, initially taking the Hanuman Bhava on the tree, and later on he started mixing with the feminine folk, the Radha Krishna Prema. Then all the people started doubting him. A big scandal started growing everywhere. Rani Rasmani got the complaints from so many people. What type of pujari you brought to the temple? Now, instead of doing the worship in the temple, he started going out of the tree and acting like a monkey. And the worst of all has happened now. He has lost his character, going with the feminine folk. And what type of pujari is this? When it came to a climax like this, then Rani Rasmani also started getting a little doubt, and he sent word to Gadadhara, and Gadadhara was talked to by Mathura Babu, and then the doubt started coming in the minds of Gadadhara, whether really what I am doing is right. Always the divine dispensation has come to his help, and the same thing happened this time too, that there came a great tantric worshipper, Bhairavi Brahmani. Bhairavi Brahmani was an accomplished master in Tantra Shastra. She had heard the exploits of Gadadhara, and when she heard all those experiments and adventures, she was convinced that she was on the path of Tantra and the real worship. And she said, well, now I have got a beautiful disciple, a right disciple to transfer all my knowledge, and took him as her disciple and started teaching one by one the different aspects of the Tantra. And the Tantra Shastra is part and parcel of the Bhakti, and Tantra Shastra contains mainly the yantras and the mantras. Yantras relate to the shape, while the mantra relates to the sound aspect of it. And Tantra Sadhana spreads itself into 64 types, and Gadadhara started mastering each and every one of these vidyas in a very, very short duration. Bhairavi Brahmani was amazed as to how Gadadhara was an embodiment of purity, and how he was able to master each and everything with such wonderful mastery. Within days, within a week, he was able to get the vision of the particular god that he worshipped, and systematically Bhairavi Brahmani went on introducing the different dimensions of Tantra Shastra one by one, and he was able to get the vision of every god, because he had known the whole science behind the Bhakti, how to raise himself from Kama to Prema, Prema to Bhakti, and totally surrender to the extent that he was prepared to give up the prana, and there comes the explosion and the Sakshatkara. The whole science was mastered by him through his adventures, and thereby he was able to master each and everything. And now let us look at the classification of Bhakti in the backdrop of the Tantra Shastra. In the Tantra, the various ways have been divided into the three categories depending on the type of personality whom is dealing. The tamasic characters, rajasic and sattvic characters have been called as Pashubhava, Veerabhava and Divyabhava. And in the Pashubhava type of worship, there is a lot of violence, a lot of sacrifice. We see, in fact, that in many of the earlier types of temples, there used to be the Rudravatara, very fierce gods used to be there, and there used to be the Bali or the sacrifice of different animals, and there used to be even drinks, and there used to be a lot of violence in the whole thing. When you look at such temples and such worships, it appears that we are barbarous. And what a violence, and what a crudelty and grossness. It appears that these are very, very low, grossest of the Bhakti. We wonder whether this is really Bhakti at all. But here is the broadness, here is the vast dimension of the Bhakti in the Tantra Shastra. It caters to everyone in the society, even the lowest, even the least developed sectors of our society has to be raised up. Already they are in almost a cannibal culture, and they are haphazard, they go and kill and pick animals and then blast them. So order has to be brought. They were drunkard, drinking to the brim, they lose their consciousness totally, that has to be properly controlled. and sex was a free pervasive thing everywhere, especially in the tribal areas and other hilly areas, and that has also to be brought into control. Therefore, all the aspects has to be brought forth with greater control. So therefore, the Bhakti says that please don't go and then hunt the animals and eat haphazardly every day. Only on the specific days when you have to do that, go hunting, bring the animals and give the sacrifice to the God and share everyone. That's how the sacrifice tradition was built. Then similarly, don't drink every day and get drunk and lose your awareness. So only on the specific days come and share with everybody and control yourself and not getting completely drunk. And this is how the haphazard, the random, the uncontrolled consumption of alcohol, cutting of the animals and the sex was channelized through the Pashubhava worship of the Tantra Shastra. Therefore, it was evident that there was violence, there was sacrifice, but this was to control and gain mastery over that. But then when there was a little control, then people went into the Rajasic level, and there it is the Veerabhava. In Veerabhava, the alcohol, the drugs, the sex and speed featured the Bhakti. So when we witness such temples in which people will be jumping with all violent, almost as music like things, they will be beating the drums and tremendous sounds are made and people will be jumping from here to there and they are drunk and their free sex all going on. When you see that Veerabhava type of worship, then you really wonder whether this is Bhakti, whether it is really going to elevate them. But when you look at the broad spectrum of the Bhakti and the Tantra Shastra, you understand that the people could be much worse off, could be very, very haphazard and will be totally slaves to the sex, to the drinks and the drugs. And that is the category of people that are being dealt with in the Veerabhava. The Rajasic people, very dynamic, their mind is very fast, full of aggression, full of violence, and such people have very violent sex even, and they take very strong psychedelic drugs. Therefore, all these things, how are you going to harness them? So such people are brought to these temples, and here you have got the Rakshasas and Yakshas as the presiding deities, and the Veerabhava people come there and started worshipping these, and correspondingly there is going to be a control, there is going to be a channelization because of the wrath of gods, because of the fear of the gods that was infused in the society. If you don't do that, then you will be cursed, and the people would accept that and slowly control and change themselves from haphazard, uncontrolled alcohol consumption, the drugs and sex and speed, to controlled consumption. And that is the transformation. The transfer from the uncontrolled to the controlled is a great change that comes up in the Veerabhava. And then you go to the Divya Bhava, that's for the Sattvic people, converting all the gross violent emotions into fine emotions, and these finer emotions are called Panchamahabhavas or Divya Bhavas. The people already are Sattvic, and for such people it is the 5 major bhavas that is taken up, and various types of bhavas has been talked about. The 5 bhavas are called Dasya Bhava, Vatsalya Bhava, Sakya Bhava, Mudra Bhava and Shanta Bhava. What is this Dasya Bhava? A feeling of the servant to his master. A servant completely surrendering himself to the master. Whatever the master says, he just absolutely follows and does as he says and as he wants. That is the great example of Hanuman towards Rama. Hanuman considered himself as a great servant to his great master Sri Rama. Whatever Sri Rama says is the word which he will follow to the last extent. Even if it means that he has to give up his life, he had no hesitation whatsoever. He served the master to the fullest extent, and that is the beauty of Hanuman to Sri Rama. All the time his mind was continuously recalling the grandeur of Sri Rama, the greatest of the qualities of Sri Rama, and the bravery and the valor and the great qualities. And he adored him, he worshipped him, and every hair was reverberating with Ramanam. Rom Rom Me Ramanam has been the bhakti of Hanuman towards Sri Rama. That is the Dasya Bhava. Then we have the second, the Vatsalya Bhava. Vatsalya Bhava is the feeling of the mother to the child or child to the mother. The Vatsalya of the mother to the child, the mother considering child as his Ishtadevata and worshipping the child, as it happened with Yashoda. The Yashoda Prema to Krishna is very well known, in which Yashoda completely sees God in Krishna, because Krishna has shown the Vishwarupa when he opened his mouth. One day he was eating the butter and Yashoda wanted to take out the butter, and she asks him to take out, and Krishna opens the mouth, and in that Yashoda sees the whole creation, the whole universe. She is bewildered, she is mesmerized, she is astonished, and from then she realizes this is no normal child. And the miracles one after another, the killing of the Putani and the biggest of the Rakshasas who came, the small baby sucked them to the death. And all such things Yashoda started witnessing. She had no doubt that this small baby is no ordinary baby, but God personified. Therefore Yashoda would almost worship Krishna as a child, and her intense love for the child was transformed into the bhakti, and it would lead into the sakshatkara. That is the Vatsalya Bhava, mother to the child. But included in this Vatsalya Bhava is also the Bhava of the child to the mother. The devotee takes on the role that I am a baby, I am a child, and I will go to worship mother. And that is what Gadadhara did. Gadadhara did for Kali. Kali the mother, that the terrible form, though he was worshipping Mother Kali as his immense and intense and the most loving mother. And that is the feeling called the Vatsalya Bhava. And when he raised in this Bhava, Vatsalya Bhava, from the Kama to Prema, Prema to Bhakti, and Bhakti to Sakshatkara, he gets the vision of Mother Kali. And he was invoking that Vatsalya Bhava in him. And the third Bhava is called the Sakhya Bhava. Sakhya Bhava is one of friendship, the feeling of one friend to the other, the real friendship. And we had the great example of Sudama, a great friend of Sri Krishna. Purnavatara Krishna he knew, but Sudama was one of his greatest friends. And in that friendship he was elevating himself, and he was prepared to sacrifice everything for Krishna. As soon as he hears the word Krishna, he will go into ecstasy. And for such Sudama, when Krishna visited, Sudama was in almost a state of hypnotic trance. And he was so happy, he was so thrilled, so excited that my most beloved Ishtadevata, Krishna has come to me. And therefore, what can I give? What can I do? His wife goes and brings a small banana, and in his anxiety, in his total attunement with Krishna, he takes away the inner of the banana and takes only the outer things and gives it to Krishna. And look at the saturation of Krishna with Sudama. He never thinks that Sudama has thrown away the real fruit, it is giving only the surface thing, and he takes that and he eats with equal joy, equal sweetness of the banana fruit itself. That is, he forgets himself. That is the dimension of Sakhya Bhava. That is the third Panchamahabhavas. Then we have the Madhura Bhava, the love of the spouse to the spouse, love of the husband to the wife and wife to the husband. The husband can worship Mother Kali as his wife, or the wife can worship her husband as the god. And that was the great example of Meera and Radha. In the Madhura Bhava they extolled, they considered Krishna as their beloved, and all the time getting saturated, elevating themselves from the carnal desires of kama, the sexual desires of kama, elevating themselves to the real prema, which characterizes itself with sacrifice. Every material possessions they would love to give it to Krishna, and with no expectation of any return from him. It's only the pouring of their heart. Then raising themselves, they started surrendering. All their preferences gone. Whatever Krishna's preference is their preference, and whatever the joy of Krishna is their joy. And tat sukha sukhitvam, as Narada says, and that is the complete surrender. Overcoming all the likes and dislikes, they were able to get the sakshatkara. They were able to raise to the level to get Krishna in flesh and blood all the time. Even when Krishna had gone to Mathura, Radha was fulfilled. She never missed her Krishna, because Krishna was there in every aspect of her life, and she was seeing Krishna in flesh and blood in the cows that she was grazing. Everywhere, wherever she went, she could see that Krishna, 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 Krishnamayam Jagat. That was the realization, that was the sakshatkara she could get through Madhura Bhava. And the last is the Shanta Bhava. That is the feeling of immense peace, equanimity, stability, and steadfastness. That is the grand quality that Yudhishthira developed. All the time he was calm, come what may, whatever may be the challenge, whatever may be the difficulty, whatever may be the demanding situation, he never got disturbed. Even in the worst case, like the Draupadi being pulled to make her completely naked by the Dushasana, by the wretched Dushasana, though his blood was boiling, his mind was calm, and that was the Shanta Bhava. He had immense faith in Krishna. He said that Krishna is going to take care of everything, and that really helped Draupadi also, and they could not make her naked. And that is the grandeur of Shanta Bhava of Yudhishthira. And in the Kurukshetra war, when Yudhishthira was given the suggestion, now please tell Ashwathamo Hatak Kunjaraha, he knew that he is telling an untruth, but still he surrendered himself to the words of Krishna. He knew that he is not telling the real truth. Real truth is getting masked by the Kunjara word being told in the end. But he knew it was a trick by Krishna, but still surrendered himself to the words of Krishna. That was his immense surrender to the level of bhakti, which made him realize the grandeur of the Sakshatkara. Thus, the five Panchamahabhavas, the Dasya Bhava, the Vatsalya Bhava, the Sakhya Bhava, Madhura Bhava, and Shanta Bhava are the feelings that were used. The child would run into the mother, that is the Vatsalya Bhava that was adored. Now, every one of us have our own preferences. We find some of these bhavas come to us very, very naturally. Some people find it so easy to follow a leader, to follow a teacher, to follow a Ishta Devata, or follow whom he reveres. And he could be extolling himself in the Dasya Bhava. Similarly, somebody else may have immense love for the mother. They can worship Bharat as Mother Bharat. They can worship any woman as their mother. They start seeing the whole women race as motherhood, and they can elevate themselves to this Bhakti Bhava, and Mother Kali as Gadadhara did. Some other people may have very easy, built in them a sense of friendship, and they can make wonderful, loving friends with the beloved, and that is the Madhura Bhava they can create. But somebody else can have the feeling of the spouse to spouse, and there itself they can start elevating themselves. And finally, some people are very peaceful, very calm, they can take any amount of shocks in their lives, and such people can go to the Shanta Bhava. Depending on what particular feeling comes to us easily in a very natural way, we can choose that and start elevating ourselves in that. That's what the Pancha Mahabhavas says. So in the path of worship, in the Tantra Shastra, you choose that particular feeling and start culturing that, purifying that, take it from prema to the bhakti level, and from the bhakti level take it to the sakshatkara, getting the vision. And that is the whole of the Tantra Shastra. At the time of Shankara, the 600 AD, the whole society, particularly the West Bengal area in India, was almost infested with this Tantra Shastra. Everybody had started practicing the Tantra. Particularly, they were practicing either the Pashu Bhava or the Veera Bhava. And the speciality of the Tantra Shastra in the Veera Bhava is that the disciples should completely surrender to the teacher, and the teacher or the guru should be conversant with all the ill effects and the wrong effects and the deteriorating effects of the Veera Bhava. Particularly when you use such strong things as psychedelic drugs or use the alcohol and the sex, then the teacher should be so very conversant that at the right time the person should be taken off from that, and as he grows in the sadhana, his dependence on these should start coming down. He should become independent of these external aids and should be able to sit calm and quiet and go deeper and deeper. But what is the use of these drugs, drinks or sex, the sense pleasures in general? We have seen earlier in Jnana Yoga that when there is a Vishaya Sambhoga, the mind completely gets obliterated. It touches the deepest of the silence, and that silence is bliss. So in every sense pleasure, there is a touch of that inner silence that forms the basis of the Tantra Shastra. And therefore, there is a sanction for the Upanishads for the Veera Bhava. But at the same time, the Upanishads and the Yoga lore also cautions, be very careful. It is likely that you will become a slave. You can become a great addict unless you totally surrender to your teacher and follow the teacher and the guru with utmost surrender. And the teacher should mercilessly pull the people out. And that is the injunction. So we had the great movement of Rajneesh, in which such a thing started happening. As a great leader, as a great guru, there were thousands and millions of people who started coming into this revolutionary movement. And a time was to come where he had to isolate them and make them independent of the external object. But unfortunately, this did not happen. The people started becoming slaves, and he himself got into this trip of drugs and so on. Therefore, the Veera Bhava type of things which were there, which used the alcohol, which used the drugs, which used the sex and speed, made them addicts to that. And in a society, there was a collapsing influence rather than a elevating influence. This is exactly what the thing in the West Bengal area, and the people started becoming addicts, people started deteriorating, and there is a free sex that has started coming, crashing the whole society. Therefore, Shankara realized that this is like walking on a razor's edge, the most dangerous, not suited for the society as a whole, and therefore he started vanquishing and converting and transforming this entire Veera Bhava culture and the Pashu Bhava culture of the Tantra Shastra to the elevated Pancha Mahabhavas or the Sattvic type of worship. And that is where the temple worship started coming of the modern type, in which no sacrifice is given and no bloodshed is done and no sex, no alcohol, no drugs were used, and it was all elevating. And this new form of temple worship was highly developed and was the prevalent thing. And even today, when you see the temple worship in various parts of this country and various parts of the world where the temples are coming up in a big way, the basis is all this Tantra. It is the Panchamahabhavas and the tantric worship which uses the different yantras, the special shapes and the special mantras will elevate the person to the higher heights from prema to bhakti and sakshatkara. And this is the whole dimension of the Tantra Shastra that Ramakrishna went through the Bhairavi Brahmani. And a stage has come where Bhairavi Brahmani was totally convinced, and she, with the help of Rasmani and Mathura Babu, calls all the best of the scholars, and the general public also had come in big numbers, and it was the intention of Bhairavi Brahmani to say that Gadadhara is not a hoax, and all his experiments were rightly in tune with the Shastras. She explained with proper quotations from the Tantra Shastra. She explained all the different types of worships which Ramakrishna had done, and overnight there was reverence and respect built for Gadadhara, and the Gadadhara became Sri Ramakrishna. And that's how the divine dispensation brought guidance to Gadadhara, who was so sincere, having the prime love in bhakti, and with a total commitment and respect which he was doing, was all rewarded. And with that, there was a new turn in Dakshineshwar. Here is a master of the bhakti. Here was Sri Ramakrishna in the pinnacles of glory as a Ramakrishna of great achievements. So large number of disciples and sadhaks started coming to Dakshineshwar to get the guidance from this great master, Ramakrishna the great master. And that is the type of vision. He could see that Vishwarupa everywhere, the Vishwarupa of Mother Kali found everywhere, and Kali here, Kali there, Kali everywhere, and that was the Vishwarupa that he was getting. The stage has come that the Ramakrishna is bewildered and often is to go to that ecstasy of tremendous bliss, tremendous amount of inner joy and peace. And Krishna says his mind was totally in that one-pointed devotion, and that is the prime love that is needed for accomplishment in the bhakti. And he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyaha mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Says, you have to have that immense love, a commitment, leaving all other thoughts. You must have one-pointed, single-minded devotion to the chosen deity, the chosen God, and that brings to sakshatkara, that takes us to the highest levels of moksha. Therefore, it is that one-pointedness, it is one-pointed devotion that is most important in development of the bhakti. But then a doubt comes, then are you becoming fanatic? What is the difference between this fanaticism and this one-pointed devotion? The difference between one-pointed devotion and fanaticism has to be understood very clearly, because there is a good chance that one-pointed devotion may become fanaticism. In fanaticism, the person thinks that mine alone is correct and all others are wrong. Whereas in one-pointed devotion, the person knows that others also could be correct, and I have chosen this particular path and I have left all other paths, therefore I worship this, but at the same time having pervasiveness, respect for others who practice other things. And that is the difference. A fanatic approach is that he will think that others are wrong and this alone is correct. There is a great Shiva Bhakta with complete one-pointed devotion, with commitment. For years and years he was worshipping Shiva as his Lord. But as it happens normally, often this one-pointed devotion had transformed itself into fanaticism, and he wouldn't tolerate a Vishnu, his face, or even the disciples of Vishnu. And therefore, he always kept company of only the Shiva Bhaktas, the devotees of Shiva, and started worshipping Shiva alone. And in the whole temple it was all Shiva worship, Shiva worship. And he had scant respect for Vishnu. He said the path of Vishnu Bhakti is wrong. To that extent he had developed that fanaticism. And Shiva, the great Lord, wanted to teach his very beloved disciple who had so much of bhakti, so much of surrender for Shiva. And therefore, on that morning when he was to come for the temple worship, when he was preparing himself, Lord Shiva in his whole sculpture changed himself to such an extent that half of his body was completely Vishnu, half of his body was Shiva. To show very clearly that Vishnu and Shiva are not different, they are basically one, and therefore he had to overcome this fanaticism and have the broad-mindedness to accept others. If that was the intention of Shiva, what happened to the great disciple, the great devotee? The devotee saw today a fantastic thing that has happened, that the Shiva, half the body of Shiva was all Vishnu, and he became terribly angry and he said, "You dirty Vishnu, you have come here also." No? And when he started giving the arati, he couldn't tolerate Vishnu, therefore he closed the nostril of Vishnu and started giving the agarbatis on this side, the incense thing, and did only the arati to the left part of the Shiva. This is fanaticism. In fanaticism, all others are wrong and mine alone is correct. And that's what we have to overcome. So when Krishna is telling Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, he is not talking about the fanaticism. When he says worship me and me alone, it does not mean that all others are wrong. It doesn't mean that all other paths are untrue. But when you worship me, when you worship a particular God, you have to have complete focus. You must have complete one-pointed devotion to the exclusion of all others. Only then you will be able to rise to the level of bhakti and sakshatkara. That is the implication. Whereas people mistake it and started telling that this and this alone is correct and all others are wrong, that has become the unfortunate thing. When this was going on, the intense devotion of Sri Ramakrishna, though he had learnt all the 64 Vidyas, he had scanned the entire Tantra Shastra and had mastered everything, was guiding everybody in their own role, his prime love was still Kali. He had the highest bhakti for Kali, one-pointed devotion. He would go into ecstasy by the mere word of Mother Kali. And it was at that time the divine dispensation was to take him to the higher levels in the bhakti path, and there arrived Totapuri. Totapuri, the great Advaita sadhaka, a great accomplished master, and he was the teacher of all teachers of Advaita. But unfortunately, Totapuri had scant respect for bhakti. He never believed in the path of devotion because he was an intellectual giant, and the path of intellect, the path of analysis, the path of discrimination, the path of Jnana Yoga, which he followed, was immaculate, and that had brought him the highest reverence for Advaita and the path of the Upanishads, and therefore he never believed in the path of devotion. And he had arguments for that. So when he came to Dakshineshwar, he met Ramakrishna. He had heard about the exploits of the great accomplishments of Ramakrishna, but he started pouring out his comments on bhakti. He said, "Look here, all this bhakti is a hoax. the path of devotion is useless. You know why? Please think. Now, what did you do? You went on saturating yourselves with Mother Kali. You went on doing japa after japa, started dancing and singing the glory of Mother Kali. And you went on and on and on for weeks and months. You completely saturated, you hypnotized yourself, and you started seeing Mother Kali in flesh and blood. And this Mother Kali is no reality to others. It's only reality to you. And therefore, it is your own concoction of the mind. It is the construct of your own mind. It is like a jaundice eye. When a person gets jaundice, he sees the whole world as yellow. Can you say that the whole world has become yellow? In the same way, the Kali that you saw is no real Kali. There is no real existence of Kali. It's only your own mental imagination. And then what did you do? You tried the worship of Sri Rama. You took on to the role of Hanuman, started worshipping Rama in the Dasya Bhava, and you get the vision of Sri Rama. Exactly the same way you imagine Sri Rama, you get the same vision. Does it not prove, does it not show that it is your own imagination, that it is your own concoction of the mind? It is a construct of your thoughts. Therefore, this is all your mere imagination. There is no reality about it. Same thing happened when you started practicing all the different Tantra Vidyas, one after another, you got all the visions of different things. But everything is your own mental imagination, nothing more than that. Therefore, oh dear Ramakrishna, I pity you, you have wasted your life. Do you know what the Upanishads tell? It says you cannot see God. Yat chakshusha na pashyati, yena chakshugumshi pashyati, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yadida upasate. Nobody can see God with their eyes. These eyes cannot see. Neither the internal or the external eyes cannot see God, because the real God, the Brahman, is the one who powers the eyes to see. Anything that you see is only a product of your vision and seeing. And Brahman, the reality, the real God, cannot be a product of seeing or vision. Similarly, you say that you are able to hear the voice of Mother Kali. And what does the Upanishad say? Please hear. Yat shrotrena na shunoti, yena shotra midagum shutam. That which can be heard is not Brahman. Anything that you hear from your eyes, from your ears, cannot be Brahman, cannot be the reality, cannot be the God, because it is this Brahman which makes you hear. It is his power that makes you hear. It is that power that makes you see. And it is that power which makes you even think. Yan manasana manute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. The Kenopanishad is brilliantly telling you that anything that comes as a thought for you, anything that you imagine with the mind, cannot be Brahman. Anything that you use your intellect and analyze and try to get at it cannot be Brahman, because it transcends all the thoughts. It is the base from where the thinking occurs. It is this power of the ultimate reality that makes you think. All the thoughts come from that source. Therefore, how can you imagine, how can you see, how can you hear the God? Therefore, all that you are doing is only your mental imagination, your mental concoction, nothing more than that. Therefore, please forget about this path of devotion. If you are really interested in God, if you really want to get at the ultimate reality, please come to me, follow the path of Advaita, and I am going to give you that great opportunity to get to the highest levels of spiritual excellence and God realization. Don't waste any more time in just going to the temple and then worshipping Mother Kali, Rama, Krishna and all such nonsense. Throw it out, throw it out. Now, Ramakrishna sees logic in what Totapari is telling, and he sees the Shastric evidence, the scriptural evidence, and therefore he is now in a confusion. Now he soon runs to his Mother Kali. Oh Mother Kali, is it that you are only my mental imagination? Is it that you are only a construct of my mind only? What Totapari says appears to be right and true. Why did you not tell me all these years and years? I have been living with you, I have been doing everything. Why did you not give me this right suggestion? Please tell me, please tell me. Again he seeks guidance in Mother Kali, and Mother Kali in her characteristic style blesses Gadadhara and says, don't worry, everything will reveal itself at the proper time. Now Gadadhara says, now he is calling me to become his disciple, his student. What should I do? Yes, please go ahead and become his disciple, and everything will come to proper understanding at the right time. So Gadadhara is very happy that he got the permission from his beloved mother, and Mother Kali has given permission. So he comes with joy and satisfaction, comes to Totapari and says, yes, my dear teacher, Guru, I am here, I am your disciple, please teach me the Advaita, and I am prepared. A big shock in the life of Totapari, because wherever Totapari went, wherever he pronounced such comments, such criticisms, then the people who were considered to be the Bhaktas, who were considered to be the Vaishnavites, they all stashed and threw him out, and they disregarded him. But here was the great master, the master of masters in devotion, the great Ramakrishna, who now has picked up the logic and has come to become my disciple. On one front he was bewildered, astonished, on the other front he was extremely happy. Yes, now I have got the right student, I have got the best of the students in my life, I am going to give all that I can give. With that joy, with that satisfaction, Totapari takes him as his student, accepts him, and he is now on to the job of teaching Advaita to him. And what happened? He told, all right, day after tomorrow, you please come and we start our teaching, and we have to do the proper meditation, the contemplation. And on the third day, there was a hutment that was built by Sri Ramakrishna and Totapari, which would suit the meditation practices and for understanding the Advaita. And on that appointed time, now Gadadhara, Sri Ramakrishna comes and sits there in all humility, with total surrender to his Guru, with fullest of respect to Totapari, and seeks his advice, seeks his initiation. And Totapari explains the whole concept of Advaita, saying that basically we are all that immense silence, pure consciousness, Chaitanya we are, and it's called Atman, it's called Brahman, and that is the changeless, infinite, and the body, the mind, the emotions, the intellect, everything goes on changing and changing. In this whole creation, everything is in a dynamic flux of changes that goes on. At the back of that is that infinite, pure reality, and it is this reality that we really are. And what is the process of sadhana? You have to relinquish and leave out all the thoughts and sacrifice every of our association with our family, with our friends, with our children, with our wives, everything, and throw away everything, sacrifice, and we must realize the truth that we are that infinite Brahman, Atman. Having said this, then he says, please sit down here and close your eyes and go on. Now started looking at your thoughts. When you sit, thoughts will come one after another, one after another. All the thoughts you must start relinquishing. Throw them away one by one, and all the thoughts should be exhausted, and you should come to that silence and stay in that silence longer and longer. And that is the whole of contemplation. And be careful. Mother Kali is going to come to you. Sri Rama is going to come to you. Krishna is going to come to you. All your beloved gods and goddesses whom you have taken will come one after another. Be merciless. Throw them out. Cut them off. No request. No mercy on them. And this is the way you have to go. Come on, start. With that initiation, now Sri Ramakrishna sits and starts meditating. One after another, the different thoughts come, the different visions come, the different gods come, and as per the injunctions, as per the order, as per the directions given by Totapuri, he goes on eliminating all these thoughts, all these gods and goddesses from his mind, and his mind has become very clear, very silent, it's coming. Then comes Mother Kali. Mother Kali with a blessing hand, with all her love and affection to his greatest of the disciple, and Sri Ramakrishna could no more take her, and he requests, Mother Kali, please leave me out. Already I have taken permission and I have become the disciple of this Totapuri, and the Totapuri wants that I should not think about you even, and he wants that you also should go away. Please, Mother, please go away, go away, go away. He is requesting, he is pouring his heart, but Mother Kali comes again and again into his mind, and in a few minutes he could no more take it, and he comes out of his position of meditation and runs to Totapuri. Totapuri, look here, my Mother Kali is coming again and again. Totapuri knows, yes, it's a habit for you for last 20 years, and it will not just vanish like this in a few minutes. But he is telling that in his own mind, laughing unto himself. Well, it may take another 20 years, 25 years for this person to realize that Advaitic state. But outside, he comes and tells, come on, come here. Takes him back to the hutment and makes him sit there and says that now no more of your Kali. You are my disciple. You are my devotee. You are my student. And you must follow what I say and not Kali or anybody else. When Kali comes in your mind, mercilessly cut her to pieces and throw her from your mind. And that is the only way to go to your real thing. And he takes a small piece of glass from there and presses in between the eyebrows, and a drop of blood comes out at the center point, says, now you put all your mind here, and to the exclusion of all other things, you stay silent, and now you take, this is my order, and you are my disciple. Remember that, surrender totally, and no more of Kali, no more of any other gods. Mercilessly throw them out. Having said this, he comes out of the hutment, and this time Ramakrishna sits and he is focusing his mind on the drop of blood, and Mother Kali comes again. This time with a heart turned itself into diamond, hard, he mercilessly cuts her into pieces. No more of request, no more of mercy, no more of compassion, no more of respect, whatever, he simply cuts, and surrendering to the orders of his new teacher, he throws Kali out, and the mind gets into that silence, gets into that state of thoughtlessness, a state of immense silence. 10 minutes over, 15 minutes over, mind is becoming deeper and deeper, clearer and clearer, broader and broader, and becoming deeper and deeper in silence. 1 hour over, 2 hours over. Now Totapuri is expecting his boy is going to come soon, but now he goes and peeps through the hutment and sees that he is really getting into the deep samadhi. 3 hours over, he knew that he has achieved what has to be achieved, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the second biggest shock of his life. He said, I took 35 years, 45 years of my intense sadhana under the great teacher, and I could realize, and here is a man in minutes he has been able to achieve this Advaita, the wonder of wonders and the greatest wonder of his life, and a big shocking wonder. Looking at it, Totapuri, on the heart of hearts, is extremely delighted, is extremely happy that this person has reached the pinnacles of Advaitic experience, and allows him to stay in that Samadhi. 1 day over, 2 days over, 3 days over, he is sitting like a solid rock, unmoving, unshaking, hardly the breath is moving, and no thoughts in the mind. He has been going deeper and deeper into that immense reality. And he knew that he allows him to go further, then he will leave this body and go and merge with that infinite. Like the salt dot trying to measure the depth of the ocean, he is going to go and lose himself fully. And Totapuri said, no, I have to bring him back. He has to deliver this message to thousands and millions of people, and he has a great role to play. Therefore, he shouts from outside, Ramakrishna, enough of it, please come out, come out. There was no response, and he goes, looks at him, and holds his shoulders and start shaking him, shaking, come on, get up, this is enough, you have to come out. The body is shaking with his force, but he is not coming into that wakeful consciousness. Then he gets a doubt whether he had left his body. He knew the manavasthanas. He goes into those manavasthanas and feels whether really the prana is still existing. And to his great satisfaction, he knew that prana had not left. It is in a very, very subtle form, in the minutest form, and he knew how to stimulate that and start bringing back to life. And he slowly chants the Omkara and goes on repeating the Omkara in his ears, and slowly the prana starts coming up. As it took 3 days for him to go into that deep silence, it took almost 3 to 5 days for Sri Ramakrishna to come back to life, come back to that wakeful consciousness. And when he came back, now he has got the new realization that Nirvikalpa Samadhi he had got. He has got the great vision. He had got the conclusion that all paths of bhakti lead to the same goal if pursued to the end, and that is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So let us see what further happened in our next session. Thank you.